So finally, we are at the end of the program, which means that we are going to explore Spikenard. And Spikenard has a very prominent position with Mary Magdalene and Yeshua. It has a very prominent role in Yeshua's process of resurrection. And now many people don't realize that the role of the spikenard, or what they call nard, in the Bible is so critical that none of it would have happened smoothly in the way it did happen if Mary Magdalene didn't anoint Yeshua with spikenard. So we're going to get into all of the qualities of spikenard, the reason why Mary Magdalene chose spikenard, and why spikenard was so critical and crucial in the moment that Mary had anointed Yeshua. So we're going to get into all of that, but in the meantime, I want you to do the ceremony with spikenard. I want you to focus on the ceremony and the respect and the honoring of the oil. I'm going to do the same, and then I'm going to do it with you at some point. So at this time, I want you to press pause and allow for you to do the ceremony and come back when you are done. Thank you. So spikenard is a higher chakra oil. It works on the etheric realm. So you don't want to use spikenard onto the body where it interacts on like something like tea tree oil or lavender or any of the oils that we mentioned before. So you want to use it in a way that is respectful to the oil's usage. You understand that every oil interacts with a different chakra or multiple chakras. So you don't want to agitate or instigate this oil, because what happens is there's a backwards effect. So if you use spikenard onto your body, just simply spikenard, especially from the heart chakra down, you may invite karmic memories that are not so pleasant. So let's say you have an issue on the body, like some pain, and you use it for some sort of inflammation in the body. So what happens is the spikenard has the memory, because it's all etheric. The spikenard has a memory, and it brings back that memory to the body. And so you don't want to do that. You don't want to activate it. So the question is, how do you use spikenard? You want to use spikenard with a lower chakra oil, such as myrrh, such as lavender, tea tree oil. You can use it with patchouli. You can use it with geranium. You can use it with. You can also use it with frankincense. And then when you are using it with frankincense, that of course is strictly for that upper chakra. And because frankincense can go into the fifth chakra, but we like to use it as myrrhphores. We like to use it for that higher dimensional realm. So there's a school of thought in the mystery school that there is a certain respect for using the oils. There's a certain understanding of the characteristics of the oil. Some people are like, oh, what's the big deal? That's only dogma. That's only a belief system. But it's far beyond that. We're interacting with the oils on a spirit level. So when we do that, we are activating the spirit level of the oil. If you weren't doing it to begin with, then you won't even be engaged in that energy of the oil. You're just strictly using it for physical purposes, and guess what? You won't be having the effects spiritually. So many people who deal with the oils on a physical level will receive the physical benefits, but if they are, first of all, connected energetically to spirit, God source, if they are a merfor in past lives, and if they are awakening to themselves, perhaps not just yet connected to spirit in the way they believe they are, but they are awakening, it can be dangerous. And I'm not saying dangerous where someone's going to die or anything, but it can be dangerous in a way. Now you're playing with spirit. You're playing with not just this, playing with the spirit world. And we know that there are dimensional levels of spirit, and so we don't want to open up portals. We don't want to open up different levels of lower frequencies, because we're bringing in, if we're using the oil, we use the oil on this lower, on the body, on the lower chakras, then what you're doing is you're calling in energies of the lower chakras. And because of the lower chakras, they have attachments to past lives. They have attachments to the physical body in the sense of the DNA being connected to pain bodies and connected to physical medical issues that we have, or even mental issues that we may have. It's all connected into those lower dimensions. Once you are above the six, once you are here and up, when you are from your third eye up, you can no longer connect to those the physical pain, and meaning you need to stay in this dimensional realm. So if we're always shifting and moving, yes, sometimes we're here, but sometimes we're here, and sometimes we're here, and it's constantly moving. And that's the purpose of the chakras, is to have a journey, and we're having a journey through our chakras. So it's difficult to maintain here unless we are in an enlightened state constantly, and we no longer have the connection to pain. But we're not there all the time. So we cannot transcend the pain all the time, and the pain will be there. And so we need to be conscious and aware of how and when we're using these oils. So this is the responsibility of the Miraphor, to blend the oil with another oil that's a more lower chakra oil, so that the oil that has a foundation and can be anchored into the lower chakras, and so therefore it is respectful and safe for the oil, and as well as for the individual. So this is my take on it. So when you do blend with these oils, such as I mentioned before, the benefits are extraordinary, of course, because every oil has extraordinary benefits. It stimulates the immune system. It fights bacteria and fungus. So if you're going to use it on, like, say, on your feet for toenail fungus, you can use it with the tea tree oil. Blend it with the tea tree oil. You can use it for anything dermatitis, like on the skin. So you can blend it with lavender oil, which is an amazing mixture. You can use it for fighting any sort of inflammation. And again, you can blend it with peppermint. You can blend it with myrrh. You can also blend it with the frankincense. And I would use that again on the upper chakras. If you can, again, stimulates the immune system. It promotes hair growth. These are all with different oils. It with the mixture of the oils, and it helps insomnia, constipation. It protects the uterus and ovaries. So this one, protecting the uterus and ovaries, you can use this one with rose oil, and this is a amazing combination because what's happening here is the rose oil is such a high frequency oil as well, but the rose is she can go all into all the chakras. She's at the root because we're using the red rose. She's at the root. She starts at the root, but she can go all the way through the chakras, and that's what's so amazing about the rose oil, which we'll get into another MER4 program. But right now, I want to set you up with a foundation of history and basic oils, so that not only do you have access to oils that you can afford, it's just a great segue into the other oils that can get more expensive. So blending those oils with of course a base oil like sesame oil, or using it with jojoba oil, then you can smear it onto the uterus and the ovaries. And this is also very good for the man's area as well, the root chakra. So don't think that what's good for women is not good for men, because it's all related to chakras. So this is what is really helpful. I'm just looking at some of my notes. I just want to go over something that, spikenard in English is, the word spike came much later, but the origin of the word nard, means light. It means light. And imagine using, this oil is so powerful. It's so powerful when using, especially with the MER4 who's been activated. It is so powerful that it can transcend everything. It can activate the person into the Holy Spirit. It can help have a transgressive period for the person where they can actually feel the light. So this is why there's such a high respect for nard. It's not just an oil. This is the spirit of spirit. This is a being, if you will, okay? This is a being that is assisting us into the light. So I want to talk about a little bit of the history. So we'll move on to that in a little bit. But I really want you to let this sink in. And what you could do at this point is take a sniff of the nard and meditate with it. And I'm going to play some music, and then after that, I want you to meditate with it, and I'm going to send out some energy of the Holy Spirit in connection to the divine source. And I want you to really feel the energy of the nard. And then I will move on to other stories about the nard. But this information about the nard is not taught. I did not learn this information. What happened is it's just an activation. As soon as I took a sniff of the nard, it was activated within me. And I think and I believe that it can happen to you as well. Now, it may not happen right away, but it can happen to you. And so take time. Breathe it in, let it be, allow, and let it transform what it needs to transform. It might have to go through some layers of pain. It might have to go through some layers of what's not needed. Perhaps you need to go through purification process. But let it happen and let it the breathing do its job. So let us take a pause, and I think you need to reestablish yourself and maybe get into a comfortable position so that we can meditate to the nard. And do what I ask of you, to take a sniff of the nard, and so that we can move on and continue. Thank you. So let's go into a little bit of ancient history. This is a history of which has been given to Murfor, and this information was given to me by Felicity Warner, who is my teacher and headmaster of Murfor. She taught me lots of information um, that I'm not attuned to, and maybe it's because it's too much information for me, but this might fascinate you. So let's go into it. Spikenard has karmic links with Arcturus and the Great White Brotherhood. Arcturus is the brightest star in the constellation Bootes and its fourth brightest star in the northern hemisphere. It is an orange giant and lies 36 light years from Earth. Esoteric knowledge teaches us that Arcturus is populated by human-like beings who are working together to form a group of consciousness. And this is true. And that's my experience with Arcturus as well. I'm going to add to this. Arcturians are very heart-centered beings. They are also connected to the ancient esoteric wisdom. They are keepers of esoteric wisdom, but most of all, they are healers. And so they work together with the energies, but they also use Spikenard as they have transcended Spikenard into light in their star planet. So let's go back to what Felicity Warner says. So she says, also known as the Ascended Masters, the Great White Brotherhood is a group of immensely enlightened and powerful immortal souls where purpose is to make everyday human aware of their divine nature. Many mystery schools have been developed on Earth in order to spread this teaching while avoiding the persecution that inevitably followed whenever it became public. Members of the Great White Brotherhood included such teachers as Jesus Christ and Buddha. So this information, I believe, is important because the Great White Brotherhood is, again, we're connecting to the masters and going back to the lavender oil, which we connected to Yeshua, as well as and Saint Germain, who are part of the Great White Brotherhood. So these oils are not only connected to the Sisterhood of the Rose, or some people call the Great White Sisterhood. It's also connected to the Great White Brotherhood, and so Spikenard in particular is very connected to the Great White Brotherhood. This is an oil that the Great White Brotherhood has transformed into light and brought it down here on earth as manifest, as a substance. So we are going to give thanks to the Great White Brotherhood, and I'm going to do that by saying a prayer to the Great White Brotherhood. So the Great White Brotherhood is directly connected to the Great White Sisterhood. They are a galactic cosmic federation that consists of the divine feminine and the divine masculine ascended masters. So the Great White Sisterhood then turned into a earthly circle, of which became the Sisterhood of the Rose. And the Sisterhood of the Rose dates back all the way into the times of Atlantis. And so the reason why that is because during that time is when humanity had most access to the masters, the ascended masters. We had technology back then of which we would connect to the masters and bring them down and call them down onto earth so that they could teach us the wisdom, the knowledge, and the practices that were needed for us to sustain the golden age. And so now we're going back towards that golden age. It's a cycle every 12,000 years, and we're heading back into that golden age. We're in a period, and what the Hindus call the Dwapara age. We just passed the Kali age, which is kind of like the dark ages. Now we're in the Dwapara age, which is the silver age, and then the bronze age, and now moving into the silver age, which is about a 300-year period. And then after that, we would be in the golden age. And 300 years, if you think about it, is a blink of an eye, especially to a soul. And this 300-year period is only 3 generations ahead of us. So my daughter's grandchildren will experience the golden age, and that's amazing in itself. So what we're doing now, as the rose lineages are starting to rise, we're starting to remember, we're starting to connect back to our lineages, to the wisdom that the rose frequency holds. The rose frequency is the purest frequency, hence why to have a rose oil, it is sacred. And my Mary Magdalene oil does carry that rose frequency. So this rose frequency carries onto the divine feminine energy onto the world. And so we are reactivating and remembering the frequencies, the vibrations of what we brought down from our galactic selves. Now, this sounds very mythical, but it is the history of humanity. We've been taught different, and through religion, and this is why religion has been misunderstood. Religion, the stories that we've been taught through religion have also been misunderstood. Religion was never to hold people down, but to really give them information to let them rise. And this is what the ancients used to do. But then as we were descending, going out of the golden age, our consciousness started to become more boxed in, and therefore we were more able to be mind controlled, and we weren't able to see outside of ourselves and our physical bodies. That we started to feel limited, but it is the complete opposite, that we are limitless. So in addition to the Sisterhood of the Rose, there was also the Brotherhood of the Rose. And so these are the earthly plane brotherhoods and sisterhoods that came from the Great Whites. So the members of these fraternities signed a sacred covenant in Sirius, swearing that they would protect the rose energy until it was time for it to be released. And that is what is happening right now. So the members of these mystery schools later resided in Atlantis and Egypt and Lemuria, but after the fall of ancient Atlantis and Lemuria, they migrated to different sites across the globe and incarnated through the centuries as guardians of the energy of the rose. And that's why it did become the mystery school. The school was protected for thousands of years. They were often several punished for the beliefs, and they came together as a group to protect the knowledge and the wisdom that they carried within their own personal essence, within their own physical bodies. And that's what's happening to all of you right now. So the initiation is gone down far back into this time, and so some of us that are connected to these frequencies of the oils are connected to through these frequencies of the rose lineages. And so this is why there's a lot of people now coming up and sharing this wisdom, because it is time. We're preparing the children to give the teachings to their children, and so therefore when their children are born, the golden age is here again, and they are primed and ready for the energy, the ascension energy that will be here on earth. So what I'm doing now is just I'm facilitating information that needs to be said at this time. It is not coming from an ego place. It is just a gift of which needs to be said and that you need to receive. So I'm honored again for you to be receiving at this time. So some of you are wondering why and when would I use spikenard? Well, spikenard is not something that you would use on a regular person. This is an oil that is used for high priestess only and those who are seeking to be masters themselves, and this is a very rare occasion. So what I'm saying to you is that do not use spikenard for any other use than to discover the different realms of reality, but also to use it for a time when you are experiencing a death in the family, or you're experiencing your own death. I know this sounds morbid, but this is something that you save for that time. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because it's not so that you can experience a resurrection, but it's so that you can experience the light within the resurrection. So meaning, you may not come back into your body after you pass. However, when you are in your passing moment, you are able to experience the light of the nard, and it gives the comfort of the dying moment. And not all of us may have a smooth transition. So if you want, you may use this on someone that is in their deathbed. However, that is not up to you. That is something that they have to ask of you. Again, this is not something that you push on people. It's something that they ask for. It's a soul contract between the person who wants the healing from the Miraphor. There, you have a soul contract between the both of you. So you may make it available to those that you are close to, and may tell people that you are doing this transitory level of light work, light weaving, if you will. However, do not push this on anyone. So Mary Magdalene was known for using nard on Yeshua when she anointed his head and his feet, and even someone like Judas was astounded by her usage of this very expensive oil during the time, which he was saying, well, why are you using such expensive oils? And Yeshua says, let her do what she needs to do. And the reason why she had this oil, the spikenard, she was given this oil by King Gaspar when she and Yeshua went to go visit him. And this is the story that I've written in the book of Mary, but this is the channeling that I received. So she was given this oil, and he gave it to her as a prophetic moment in their timeline together. So she knew exactly when to use it. And as a Miraphor, she knew exactly how to use it as well, as she tuned into the oil. And this oil has been used in India many years, thousands of years, because it is from India. It is the origin. It is an Indian plant which turned into then an oil. Many of the oils actually are Indian, and this is coming. It came down through Lemuria, and then there's all the other oils that have come from Egypt, and these are the ones that came from Atlantis. So spikenard is a Lemurian oil. And so Mary Magdalene did a lot of Lemurian practices, and this is why there is an ancient history of Mary Magdalene and Lemuria. And so these energies of the spikenard was connected back into the Lemurian time, of which she allowed for this feminine energy to come through. Because as some of you know, the Atlantis is a very masculine energy, and Lemuria is very feminine energy. So she chose spikenard inadvertently through King Gaspar. King Gaspar is one of the three magi's that went to go see Yeshua as a baby and bless him with the oil of myrrh. So he has a history with Yeshua and the oils, and he knew that the oils were a very important piece of Yeshua's ascension. So of course these magi's, they weren't just regular beings. These were masters that would meditate for every day for hours, going to samadhi. They were connected to high masters, high ascended masters, and then they themselves became ascended masters when they left their bodies. But these were beings that they knew much information, and they knew the periods, and all of this will come through the book. But what I'm trying to tell you is that Spikenard was given to Mary Magdalene, so she had to use it. Yeshua knew she had to use it. It was all written. They understood their path. They understood their roles in this play of occurrences, and it wasn't a mistake that she used spikenard. And the thing is, when a merfolk merges with the spikenard, she allows for the spikenard to turn into light. The spikenard doesn't turn into light on its own. It needs the assistance of the master of the merfolk. And so therefore, Mary Magdalene's essence, her soul, her pure frequency manifested this light onto Yeshua, which basically was giving him an auric field of energy so that he can reach these higher realms of energetic protection, so that his body is becoming one with the ascended self, with the higher self, that he can transcend pain, and he can transcend the body through his consciousness. So without Mary Magdalene, there would be no resurrection. And some people would consider that blasphemous, but this is the story of which we weren't told. It is told in a very convoluted way, and a lot of the disciples did not understand. Some did, but the ones that had written in the Gospels, the apostles, they had a very difficult time understanding what was actually going on. And that is because they were so devoted to Yeshua that they couldn't see outside of him, that there was only him. And because Mary Magdalene was so humble that they couldn't see her, and they couldn't see that she was who she was, and what she was doing was something sacred and holy. As a matter of fact, in one of the Gospels, she's called as the woman, and not by her name. And so it becomes even more mysterious. But there's jealousy, and there was a lot of animosity towards her because she was so close to Yeshua, and they didn't understand how could he let a woman do all of this during that period, during that era, because women were looked down upon. They were considered a lower gender or a lower species to the man, especially in spirituality. And so this is the story that has been convoluted, and now it's coming into the light, and it's an important story because this story is everything to a merfolk, This is the height of a Merfor's career, if you will. It's the height of her purpose. And Mary Magdalene did other things with the oils before she worked with Yeshua. With the oil, she works on thousands of children, healing them. And this is all information that will come out in the book, but she was an ultimate Merfor. And there were many others, but she was an ultimate. She was a high priestess of the oils, and she was very well respected. But she had other gifts, and this is why she just isn't just that. She was chosen, and she knew she was chosen, and it was revealed to her slowly in trickles. As we have the oil that is outside of us, we also have the oil that is inside of us, the Christos oil. And in Hinduism, they call it the Amrit. And it is a slow drip of golden nectar that comes from the pineal gland, and it's right behind our third eye and comes into the middle of our brain, and it drips down into our mouths. And this is when we reached a point of high mastery of knowledge, wisdom, but also enlightenment. And what happens is you eventually get fed by this holy oil, the Christos oil, that you no longer need earthly food. You no longer need to participate in the earthly occurrences. And I believe that Mary Magdalene reached that level. She reached that level. I believe as Yeshua was preparing his body for his crucifixion, she was also preparing her body. And as they were doing this, they were both receiving the Holy Christos oil within themselves. And so therefore, they were experiencing things simultaneously in the same way. She didn't experience the resurrection, but through him, she experienced the resurrection. And through her, he experienced what she was going through. And they were always one. They were one because they became one in their holy marriage of Hieros Gamos, and this is another story in itself. But Mary Magdalene's story is so rich in different layers of enlightenment and evolution of her spirituality that this is why I wrote a book about it. And the Merfor part of her life was very important to her, and she continued this till she became much older. But then she passed it down to her students, and she no longer needed to do so, and she became very shut off to the world, and that is because she no longer needed to engage. So this is a crucial point, and even the word crucial comes from the word crucifixion. So even this crucial point of where Mary Magdalene had to anoint Yeshua with spikenard, this crucial point made everything the way it is. And so it is an honor to hold the spikenard. So this is why we need to respect the oils from the lowest chakra to the highest. But it is a process for us to reach into those higher dimensional oils. And that's why I took you from the lowest going upwards to the highest. And I wanted to introduce other oils that were perhaps mentioned in the Bible or that were higher frequency. But I believe that this process of moving through the chakras was very important, and as well as I also wanted this program to be financially sound for everyone. So the spikenard is the royalty of the oils, and so when mixing spikenard with rose, you are experiencing pure bliss. And when you have these mixtures, you allow for an experience that you can experience what what was happening when Yeshua and Mary Magdalene had their moment with the anointment. So I ask you to take this time to take a whiff of the spikenard and meditate on it and see what experience comes up for you. Go into what is your truth, what is your lie. I wrote down some notes, so I'm looking on the side. Tell us the one thing, or tell me the one thing that you want to let go in this lifetime. What does happiness mean to you? Is happiness that important to you? Is it peace that you seek? What were all of your capabilities that you dreamed of, and what has been fulfilled? And finally, what is your sole purpose in this lifetime? So all of these are something that you should jot down in your notebook and then meditate on it, maybe one at a time. And this is all going to connect down into the inner child, and the inner child knows everything. The inner child had dreams and wisdom and great profound love for and joy for humanity. And some of us still have that. But if we could go deeper into that state of being, into that inner child, and heal that inner child of whatever was experienced that convoluted and polluted our frequency, our pure frequency, I ask you to be courageous and to go deeper into that inner child. So I'm going to allow you for you to have this time to meditate on this. And when you're done with that, I want you to write into the Magdalene Tribe Facebook page what you think or what you feel Yeshua and Mary Magdalene shared in that moment of anointment with the spikenard. So let all of this happen as you need it to happen, as it needs to happen. Don't rush it, and share as it needs to come up. And you can always connect to me as well. So thank you.